Welcome into the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. I hope you have a great morning. Hope the last 21 hours since we last visited have gone well. Today is a Wednesday, the 6th day of May in the year of our Lord 2026. Happy birthday to my little sister, who I don't even know how old she is, Sky, but today is her birthday. She has the same birthday as my grandmother did. Then my daughter has the same birthday as my mom does.
Wow.
Is that not crazy?
All in the family.
Yeah, and then my dad and my wife have the same birthday.
Man, that's some kind of math.
Crazy. It makes it easier to remember.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So happy birthday, little sister.
Yeah, who is not in the listening area, but happy birthday to her. And I'm sure she's 29 again.
So did you torment her, or were you more of a protector, or did it change as you became?
We're 5 years apart.
Okay.
And so, I mean, we were close enough that she wasn't like little baby sister. You know what I'm saying?
5 years. Okay.
But too far apart to be buddy.
How many guys did you beat up for her?
For her? Not many. Yeah. She wasn't a big, guy kind of girl. So we didn't have a lot of problems with that. You're a pretty girl and all that kind of stuff, but she was pretty well behaved. And
how many guys did you want to beat up because of her?
You're gonna start asking too many questions.
I just thought I'd get us off to a good start. Yeah.
Hey, better question is how many guys should have gotten beaten up, but we lived in a more cultured world.
That was my next question.
Yes,
Scott, you got out in front of me.
Some of them should have toted a whooping to the house at least a couple times, but not. You know what? Not because they were just terrible, but because they needed to be run off.
Understood.
They just weren't the greatest.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean they weren't. They weren't terrible. And there are guys who are terrible, but no, they just weren't high enough caliber. If that makes sense.
I understand. So
let me ask this question. I'm here. Happy birthday to my little sister. I told you before the program, how many people out there have run more than one pen out of ink? Now, I'm not talking about you pick one up that's been in your car for 2 years or it's been in the cabinet for 2 years and it just doesn't work anymore.
I'm talking about a favorite
pen. I'm talking about a pen you are riding with and it starts skipping, and then it just goes away. How many of those have you had in your life, you think?
Well, first of all, you have to be one of those people that this is my pen.
Yes,
right.
And
so
I'll carry it with me.
You're one of those type
one.
People. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's very rare in my life. I'm like a pen is just something that
it's just disposable. We need it, leave it, whatever.
Yeah.
So. I had a pen that someone had given me as a gift, so it was a nice pen. And I had it when I was in the legislature, so it was with me all the time. It wrote in this very, when I say blue ink, it was like very blue ink, like almost glowing blue. But it was a silver pen, and it might have been silver. But I had to get refills for that pen multiple times.
Okay, cartridge.
And it's out at this point in time because it started to run out, and then I got out of the legislature. But yeah, like I just ran out this morning making show notes for the program with a blue gel pen because I just like it. And so I have run out of ink multiple times, and I just wondered because before I was an adult, before I got that pen, I probably never ran out of pen because I lost it.
Yeah,
broke
they just don't survive that long. Somebody walks off with it.
It didn't make it that long. Yeah. And now I'm becoming a bougie pen snob, not because I want a swanky pen, because I want a pen that writes well.
Understood.
I don't want it dragging, and I don't want it smearing everywhere. I want a quality. And I like some of the gel pens. I like the blue. I don't like black. And everybody, and why is it when you go places, everybody wants to have a black pen? Because in the old days, you were supposed to sign in black. Is that what you were supposed to do?
Yes, and then, of course, you weren't supposed to sign in red. There was always, I don't know if it was a superstition or red ink kind of thing.
Right, right.
The last pen I had that had cartridges for refills, leaked. It leaked on me one time. That was the end of that, man.
Yeah,
that's it.
There are those kind. It's best to stay with it. Was it a ballpoint pen? Or did it have some little weird?
No, it was with kind of the point
the
on
little
the tip.
pointy, like
Remember
a calligraphy. It was a fountain-esque
fountain
pen, right?
Yeah.
But it had
Ruined
the cartridge on the back, and it would just leak out.
Yeah, it ruined a perfectly good Grateful Dead concert shirt. And that was the end of that pen. Yeah,
an ink spot on a Grateful Dead T-shirt looks exactly like the Grateful Dead T-shirt, Scott.
A couple of cigarette burns, some resin,
some kind of goo from behind the stage.
Beer stain. Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, so I ran one out today. Let me give out the phone number as I have to send it to somebody this morning. 1-800. I keep giving it to this person. 289. Y'all put it in your phones. 9228. 1-800-289-9228. And so we may be having a guest at 11. We've been going back and forth. I think there's a possibility that he likes text about as much as I like emails. Therefore, we'll see how it works.
Okay.
We'll see if we seal the deal. I don't know. We're still texting back at the start of the program on the day that is possibly the day. But it's all right. It's all good. Let's just get to a couple of different points. Small little things. Clark called yesterday, and he brought up what I thought was interesting. And for some people, they're like, I don't know. But Clark went and did some of the math and did some research. And now it's beginning to get out there a little bit nationally. If you want to know why the Democrat establishment and some of these entities that pay attention to politics are having the issues that they are having over the Supreme Court decision in the Louisiana redistricting case. Now, look, I have very little faith that the Alabama legislature is going to swing for the fences. That is not the way the Alabama legislature works. That's not the way Republicans work in the Alabama legislature. Even when I was there, we would make sure, not because this was my idea, but we would make sure to only get half a victory. You've got the whole battlefield is in front of you. You can win. You can have a decisive victory. You can wipe the enemy off the map. And our leadership would be the general that says, we're winning the day. We've won the day, gentlemen. Let's pull back to our tents and we'll fight more tomorrow. When you've got, Stonewall Jackson would have killed them all. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's what you do in war.
And our guys will only go halfway, which means you get a victory and they're like, look at us. We're awesome, victorious. Yeah, we are the champions. And leave half the army, the opposing army, out there to fight you another day. My guess is the Alabama legislature, if given the right messages, will go back to the old congressional map and have 6 Republicans and 1 Democrat, which is kind of how it's been for the last years and years and years and years and years. And then they will claim that as being brave and tough and awesome and regaining that Democrat seat that the court made us do, even though the court makes us do the other one too. That's what you're going to get, okay? Now, yay! Y'all are awesome. Fantastic. So I got that out of the way. I said it. Y'all are great. Victory. Wonderful. Awesome. Now the other part is, why didn't you go Stonewall Jackson and wipe the battlefield clean? But I know it's not really in y'all's DNA. And I take that back. I should not insult every member. It's not in the leadership's DNA to actually win. And I have no idea. I have nothing to base it on. But I would imagine there's some national entities saying, "Hey, you're one of our guys. Let's don't go too far." Some Democrat pushback against a state like Alabama doing the whole thing. But Clark did a little bit of math on the congressional districts across the country, and it's kind of percolating out now. You'll definitely want to hear this on the other side because it's fascinating. A fascinating study on where we are as a country and how we got so messed up. It actually is a positive that should make you feel better. So stick with us. We'll have that on the other side. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovery.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. Don't forget our friend Brian Dawson over at 1819 News, the podcast. You can check out his podcast by going to YouTube or any of the other places where you find your podcast. It's called 1819 News, the podcast. You've probably seen Brian. He's doing a lot of stuff now, a lot of shorts out there on TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, etc. So, yeah, check out his podcast. You'll enjoy it. You'll like the content. And when you go over there, subscribe. And don't forget to go check us out on YouTube. Search for Scott Beason and give us a like, give us a subscribe so we can build those numbers up so it'll pop up early. And the goal of this is for those parts of the state and around the world that don't get to have this program broadcast over the airwaves, which they should if they wanted to actually make money in the radio business. They would do that, but, you know, it's tough. The radio business is definitely a protected, like all of media in the United States, it is protected so that only certain messages get out there, and a lot of people are not allowed to ask questions, which is what we do. Interesting thing that Clark, one of our callers, listeners, actually did the research on, and I see it beginning to bubble up in different places, but it's fascinating. And I said that one of the reasons the Democrat establishment, the Marxist establishment in this country, is having a meltdown about the United States Supreme Court decision involving the Louisiana redistricting case is that there are groups of people. Now, look, the people you saw on social media that were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it."
But it's also it's just racist. We're gonna be back to racism. They probably have segregated water fountains, and you won't be able to eat at restaurants, and then slavery will probably start be reinstituted.
For those of you who think that's hyperbole, I think I still have the copy of the phone message that was sent out in 2010 in the state of Alabama, sponsored by a state senator, saying that if Republicans won the Alabama state legislature, slavery would be reinstituted. That phone call went out to thousands of Alabama voters, almost all of whom were black Alabama voters. Imagine in 2010 telling people that if the Republicans are in charge, if they take over the legislature, they're going to reinstitute slavery. Now, that the Republicans took over the legislature in 2010. We're now at 2026. So what is that, 16? Carry the one. 16 years. What do you think? It was a 20-year plan? We're just waiting until the 20th year, and then we're going to do it. We're going to spring it on people.
Fear-mongering and scare tactics. Joe Biden said they'll put you back in chains.
Put them back in chains. What a bunch of lies. I thought
that's all they got.
I thought that would be the one that would cause minority populations in the state of Alabama to just rebel and go, you know what, y'all are lying. You've gone too far. I don't expect the liberal white women. There's not a lot you can do with those old liberal white women. You just can't. There's no talking to them. They're smarter than everyone else. They they have a degree in nonsense, and they're but I really thought black Alabamians would be like, this is a step too far. You can't come out here and be a respected member of the legislature and sponsor putting out that kind of drivel and us continue to listen to you at all. And I guess maybe that was one of the things that's kind of moved the needle a little bit. But here's the point on the reason why there are people who just are out there saying crazy, just race baiting kind of stuff about the Louisiana decision when it comes to redistricting. But at the very, very top, there are people who are very upset about it because they understand these numbers. Mm-hmm. There are 212 Democrat seats being held in the United States Congress out of the 435. 212, okay? 148 of the 212 are racially gerrymandered districts. Okay? 148. So if you have 212 and then you have the 200, you end up with
64.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. Let me see if Clark's math is mathing here. So what you end up with, let's see, he's got 148. So you did 212 minus 122. Okay. All right. Let me give you the backwards one.
Okay.
He leaves 122. That means 260. Yeah, his math is messed up, but I'll still give you the idea.
64 legit is.
You end up with a certain number of districts that are legitimate districts where Democrats are elected by Democrats fairly. Okay?
Non-gerrymandered,
not worked up, not fixed, not drawn to specifically elect someone based on how they look so that they end up being a Democrat.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yes.
When you run the math on how many are legit based on their total of number of seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, you end up with about 20, 21, 22% of the U.S. House is legitimately, solidly Democrat. 1 in 5.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Our country is run by people who believe like the 1 in 5, which means 80% of the United States is more conservative than that. 80% of the people. But because of hook and crook, we are run by Marxists and leftists. Now, here's the second stage of that. The census numbers to give them that many congressional districts are out of whack because the census has been counting illegal aliens. So these sanctuary cities and the sanctuary states have extra seats in Congress because we've been counting millions. Remember, every U.S. House seat is supposed to be 600 plus thousand people. We let in 10 million illegal aliens that got counted, the Biden administration. There was 10 or 12 or 15 million before that. So every 6 million is 10 more congressional seats than they should have in some of these blue states.
Agreed. So
you take out the illegal aliens and you end up with even less. You're down at maybe 15, 16% of the country being genuinely Democrat, genuinely Marxist, genuinely socialist. That means 80 to 85% of the people in this country are at least independent or lean right. And we are led by, governed by this minority of people who, what did they use as an excuse? Yeah, represent the minority. We're looking at. So the minority is ruling in our country because they have been cheating for decades.
And it looks legitimate because the media, the corrupt media, props it up.
Yes.
And makes it seem like this is legitimate, but it's an illusion.
It is an illusion.
Definitely.
So the reason I say it's a positive thing is we need to realize that the people who believe like us or more like us are tons of us. Think about your friends, your family members, people the people, how many people you work with. What percent of them are truly leftists? And you're running around trying to figure out who supports this stuff. Well, I got one person in my office suite that does. How many people are in your office suite? 5, 6? One of them's nuts, right? What you see in your office is very representative of the country. Once you start backing out all the cheating and all the spinning that they have done to our elections and to our electoral college and to our Congress. So look on the bright side. We're making progress. We're going to get it back under control. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politician.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. So we're looking at the math there, but the story still works out that when you take out the cheating, oh no, I'm such a wonderful person. I care so much about different groups of people that I demand that there is a district that has people who look like this so their representatives can look like them. Hey, but don't they, that district is going to be Democrat no matter what, right? Oh, I did not even notice that it would be Democrat. Huh, wow, because it never occurred to me that it would be Democrat. What a load. It was just a lie. It was a lie from the very, very beginning. And then now 40, 50 years into this, we're finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're figuring out that if all those districts went away, we would have an America that would be on a different trajectory. We would not have been having to fix all the problems. We would not be facing all the things that the Trump administration is facing. People get all, oh my gosh, I can't. This is another one that derails Republicans. Okay, the advice comes down and says, hey, y'all don't do everything at once. You can't. People can't handle it if you do it all at once. So therefore, go slow. Do just a little bit at a time. Now, there is some truth that people can't handle it at once. Listen to some people who are like, I don't know. I just wish Trump just wasn't doing everything all at the same time. I mean, he doesn't have to do it all at the same time. I just can't take. So there is some human nature to that. But here's the dark side of that advice. That advice usually comes from squishier people. Squishier people know that if you don't fix it while you can fix it, it won't get fixed. They know that if they can put things off till after the Trump administration, you might get Kamala Harris. You might get Gavin Newsom. You might get whatever other leftists you get. So if they can talk you into not fixing things now, they might can hold on to those problems. Don't worry about the census, Sky. Don't worry about just citizens. We've got bigger things. Don't worry about that. Don't go change the districts just because you can today. Don't. Why? Because if you wait and maybe the Democrats get in charge, maybe they'll stack the courts. And then the courts will go back and you'll never get to fix those districts again. Because if you fix them now, you might keep us from being able to stack the courts. And when we get the courts stacked, then we'll be back to thou shalt obey the court. Thou shalt do what we say. Now look, while we're in the minority, we're like against the court. We're taking a stand. Everything's going to be, we're going to drag everything out. But if we're in charge again, then you good people must do what we say. Otherwise, you're a rebellious traitor. Traitor. That's what they do to us. So I like the idea that Trump has of, look, we're going to fix all that we can. And yes, some things kind of get put to the side. Are we deporting as many people as we should? Probably not. Not doing as much as we could or should have. I would have cracked down on Minneapolis. Everybody be going home. They'd be home by now. But he can't fight every battle everywhere. And there's not a lot of allies. I mean, where are the allies in the United States Senate? Tommy Tuberville?
There's one.
Yeah. And what does Tommy get constantly? Tommy gets bashed constantly.
I read it.
And just as an aside, let me ask you this. Because she's not my enemy. I do not know her. I'm not even mad at her. But how is it possible? I'm just asking theoretically. How is it possible that Tommy Tuberville is considered a bad guy? Darth Vader, a villain. Maybe Luke Skywalker, because, not Luke Skywalker, but who's another villain? One of the Sith Lords.
Sure.
And because Donald Trump is Darth Vader, or the Emperor. Maybe he's the Emperor and Tommy's Darth Vader.
That'll work.
But how can he be the bad guy? All right? And the junior senator from Alabama gets glowing articles about how the Republicans say she's just a leader. I mean, she is a leader among men. It's unbelievable. Now, well, Scott, of course, because she's talented. She's blah, blah, blah. I thought they believed almost identically the same. If you have two members of the United States Senate from the same party, from the same state, and they both publicly claim to be on the same page 98% of the time, how is one of them Darth Vader and the other is Princess Leia? Does anybody have an answer for that? Or is that one of those things that made people squinch up at their butt like, Did I lose people? Did people turn off the radio because I asked that question?
I think I got it.
I don't know if you should answer it out loud.
I don't think I will.
I think we
That's
should leave it out there.
It's there in the subtext if you want to.
Oh, wait. We have phone calls. Let's go to the phones.
Yeah. Yeah, look at the time. Wow.
Oh, wow. Show's almost over. Was it Charles the First of Dewey? Welcome to the program.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Charles the First.
I was on the other North Alabama radio station, and the subject was you.
Really? Uh-oh. Is that good or bad?
Yes, you're going to love this. Yeah, and, well, you're going to love it.
Okay.
I'm discussing with Dale Jackson.
Okay.
Which he does not like. You know, he's with you about this whole thing, and Ledbetter being kind of wishy-washy and having a purple area where Sewell is and all that.
Good.
So I call in. Because guess what I researched, Scott?
What'd you learn?
I researched that Pringle is the one in the house that has that wishy-washy bill, okay?
Uh-huh.
And I looked back at 2023 at the other, possibilities that existed for us to have a map, right?
Okay.
So I find Act 563 proposed by Livingston. Got
Okay.
me?
Okay.
And it makes it much more pro-Republican than the Pringle one.
Okay.
And it already exists to be put forth. You got me?
I got you.
So I told all the listeners in the Huntsville area to call their House representatives, because you've always told me that they see somebody calling like it being 7,000 people. You remember telling me that?
Mm-hmm.
Like they see it as that.
Okay.
And I said, but if you want to be even more bold, you will have them go to Scott Beason, who has already got it planned out exactly how they can do this the proper and correct way. And then Dale says, "What happened? What happened?" I said, if you remember, he gave you the Beason Hammond bill that had to do with the immigrants.
Right.
And then Dale says, "What almost happened?" To me, and I couldn't even. I wasn't fathoming it. Okay.
Okay.
And I said, "Well, it passed his law. We can use it right now." He said, "No, they were almost arrested." I guess whatever I'm talking about. I don't know, but that's what he says to me.
Okay.
Is that you like to got in trouble for it or something? I don't know.
I don't remember that,
And,
but go ahead.
I don't remember that either. Yeah, and Chris Reed was in there with him.
Okay.
Live too. So it was me and Chris Reed, and you can listen to it like at 8:15 if you see his show and hear all about it.
Hey, Charles, we got to take a break. Let's stick with us. We'll
Okay.
carry on the other side. Urban Out, I see you also want to weigh in on the redistricting stuff. We'll do that as well. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politician.
To Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. Let's get back to Charles the First to do any. I know we're going to run out of time at the top of the hour. Charles the First, welcome back in.
Well, thanks. And I wanted to put this out there, Scott. Just this morning, the candidates that the representatives that were not going to redistrict in Indiana, and Trump said, "I'm going to be against you." He won. Do you realize that?
Yeah, they got
his
whacked.
Candidates beat those candidates.
Yep, the Rhino candidates got beat.
Now,
Yes.
All it would take, in Tuberville's a big buddy with you, big Ledbetter, is a little call that says, "We don't want the wishy-washy, and we ain't going to help you. We ain't going to support you. We're going to actually go for your person running against you or whatever if you don't get in here and get this a little tougher." Now, one little call, Scott, takes care of it. Don't you agree there? Not only that, though, I say call our House members right now and be that 7,000 that they see in their mirror there that they're looking at when we call them to say, do something on the level of Act 563 from 2023, 563, or tougher, or call Scott Beason. I mean, you get me
call
here?
me.
Like,
listen to the
need
program. I mean, it's something like that. I mean, we're not talking crazy stuff here.
Exactly. I mean, and me and you have told them this for over a year and a half or two. Like if they had already listened to what you said, we would already have everything in place. There wouldn't even be the cost of this special session that we're having right now or anything.
Well, here's the funny thing, Charles the First. Hold on, Charles. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This idea is not a new idea. The idea occurred to me years and years and years ago when we were doing redistricting, and I was like, why do we even care what the racial makeup of the map is? You can just ignore it and draw the districts to elect Republicans. And it was my goal back then to have the courts tell the state of Alabama, even though they had been saying, you've got to look at race, you've got to look at race, have them publicly say, no, you can't do it without knowing the race. You must know the race. And I wanted that just out there so Americans could understand that that's what the southern states were being told to do, because a lot of people were unaware of it. Even people in Alabama were unaware of it. But now that the dynamic has changed, we absolutely should be ignoring the racial data and do it based on, will the district elect a Republican?
Well, what everybody needs to always remember that maybe sometimes they forget is the Constitution allows the party in charge, the legislature of that state, to draw in any way that they come to a conclusion to do the district map however they want it. That's the way it was until the Voting Rights Act. Now, the Voting Rights Act has been used against us, against everyone, as a means of getting maps drawn the whole opposite way of being discriminatory. And,
no,
and
absolutely right.
Ended that. That means absolutely, in a red Republican state that we are by far the majority, there should not be a wishy-washy Ledbetter. It should be that we are doing what we are allowed constitutionally to do, and specifically by the Supreme Court decision the other day.
I agree. Hey, let me ask you this question.
Some of these people.
Let me ask you this question. Why in the state of Alabama in 2026 do we think that the Speaker of the House is the shot caller? When I was there, the Senate called the shots.
Well, apparently it's changed for some reason, but again, it is the specific setup of our state government that gives so much power to Ledbetter's position there that if you want anything done, you bow to the Speaker, and that is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the House members did that to themselves, Charles I, and to be honest with you, that was a little bit of how it was. The House was more one-sided than the Senate. Republicans took over in 2010, and power was centralized around the leadership more under Republicans than it had been under Democrats even. And so Republicans are partially responsible for the fact that the lobbyists are in charge now.
We've got wishy-washy persons that lobbyists gave money to put them in office that you have to follow what they want or you don't get anything for your district. And it's completely ridiculous. I mean, something's got
it's
to
worse
break
than
this
that,
cycle
Charles
some
the
kind of
First.
way.
If you don't do what they want, you don't get campaign money to run again. It's not so much the goodies you bring back to your district. I'm fine with stopping the goodies back to the district. But they know that regular Joe Blow, can give you maybe $100. Well, that doesn't go very far. But a special interest group that can give you $10,000, that matters in your reelection. And they're wielding it against them. Hey, we got to take a break.
They give it to your opponent as well?
Oh, they'll get you an opponent. No doubt about it. Charles the First, I appreciate you, buddy. We got to take a break. We shall return on the other side.
Scott Beason, president of ARP,
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back into the program, everybody. Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. Let's get out to your phone calls. Urbanite has been very patient. Urbanite, I appreciate you holding on. We got so much stuff to do, but I wanted to hear your opinions on this Alabama redistricting issue. I hope you're doing well. Happy Wednesday to you.
Urbanite.
Is he not there?
I mean,
After I said all that? After
yeah,
I broke?
I checked on him earlier, and
Well, maybe he just didn't know we were
may have
coming
had
back
to
already.
step away for a
Yeah,
moment.
if he comes back on, just we'll put him back on pretty quickly. I
I'll
broke
check
one
in.
of the new rules, which is don't say who's going to be on, and I did it. So
Jinx.
I apologize to y'all. So here is the story that Charles I was reporting back in December. President Trump was very upset with Indiana Republicans in their Senate. Apparently, their House had passed the redistricting bill for Indiana. It would have created 9 Republican districts and had 0 Democrats. 9-0. The Indiana State Senate, this is who wrote this story, make sure, Christina Layla. The Indiana State Senate killed the proposed congressional redistricting map. Even though Republicans, I thought Alabama had I guess we need to run the percentages. In the Indiana Senate, they have 50 seats. 40 of the 50 are held by Republicans. So what is that, 80%? 80% of the Indiana Senate was Republican, and they couldn't pass a congressional plan that was all Republican. Yeah, I don't know why. Listen to some of this story. You could plug these personalities in Alabama. The bill failed after more than half of the Senate Republicans voted against it. The move comes as Democrats aggressively gerrymander congressional maps in blue states to cancel out Republican votes nationwide, a strategy Indiana GOP leadership chose not to counter. Back in December, Trump vowed to primary the Indiana rhinos. And then here's how some of the stuff happened. Now, this is one of the things he put out, okay? President Trump put this out before the primary. Good luck to those great Indiana Senate candidates who are running against people who couldn't care less about our country or about keeping the majority in Congress. There are 8 great patriots running against long-seated rhinos. Let's see how those rhinos do tonight. President Donald J. Trump. NBC News reported State Senator Travis Holdman, who had served in the Senate since 2008 and was the 3rd most powerful Republican in the chamber, was defeated by real estate agent Blake Fichter. 80-year-old State Senator Jim Buck was unseated by Tipton County Commissioner. Jim Buck had served since 1994. It was his first primary since joining the Senate in 2008. So apparently he had been in the legislature in the House, then went to the Senate in 2008, had not had any opposition. He had the support of Mike Pence, who was the former vice president, and if you forgot, was the Indiana governor before he was vice president. So he had Pence on his side. He got beat. State Senator Greg Walker was supposed to retire, but he reversed course amid the redistricting fight, where he notably broke down in tears, speaking about his fear for the future if the legislature caved to Trump's demands. So Trump wanted Indiana supermajority Republicans to draw districts that were Republican, and Senator Greg Walker breaks down in tears and is in fear for the future of the party. Now, the reason I point this out is this is the kind of statement you will hear and get from some of the squishier Republicans in the Alabama legislature. Oh, we can't do that. Oh, I fear for the future of the party. You heard some of that when they were talking about whether or not we were going to have party registration for our primaries, closed primaries. Oh, no, the future of the party. Oh, it'll split people so much if they have to say they want to vote Republican or not. Oh, we'll lose the independents. They'll all vote for the Democrats. It'll be just like Baxley Craddock. I'm like, no, it's not the same dynamic. And I believe, Sky, that some of them are squishy, but some of them believe that is some sort of academic understanding, that they're smarter than other people. It's the same thing we used to get when we wanted to do party registration while we were growing as a party. Before we were the majority, I wanted to do it. And they're like, oh, no, we need to be a big tent. And party registration will make people flee. They'll think we won't have a big tent. Ronald Reagan wanted a big tent. I'm like, what the crap? What do you want? I don't want a big tent full of rats. What's the value of big tent? If you elect people who don't believe like you because your tent's so big that you're electing leftist, what good did you get? I would rather them be a Democrat than a leftist Republican. At least they have the right brand. But when they're Republicans, people are confused. People aren't sure what are we getting? What are we doing? So Indiana there was a big difference. One person was a Michelle Davis representative, launched her campaign before Walker decided to run again, so she ends up winning. Linda Rogers, who owns and manages a golf course, lost her primary to an anesthesiologist, Brian Smutzler. State Senator Dan Dermalik was defeated by Trevor DeVry, an insurance broker. So the people of Indiana turned out a bunch of these rhinos who would not understand that the future of the country is at stake. And I would love to see Alabama, put the shoulder to the plow a little bit, do something. But I'm sticking with, no, they're going to try their best to go back to the old district. It'll be Terry Sewell's district. Vivian Figures will be very upset because her son will probably lose his district. They might get really and try to be really brave and courageous and put them in the same district. Hey, here's your Democrat district. You two congressmen. Fight it out. Oh, Scott, you can't do that. I was there for the last time redistricting was done by Democrats in this state, and they put the most powerful Republicans, the senior Republicans, in the same districts. Some of my personal best friends were put in the same districts so that one of them had to go home. So when you hear all the gnashing of teeth and all the whining and, oh, you can't do that, oh, that's mean and harsh, I can't believe Republicans would do that, oh, no, y'all so mean. Absolutely they do it. Again, what do they say, two wrongs don't make a right? But
it's almost like this is all just for show, and everything's been decided before the sessions begin.
It seems like that, doesn't it?
It does. It's kind of depressing sometimes.
But the members, this is the thing. Hey, some of you members who don't have a lot of clout, and you always are having to beg the leadership for stuff, this is the time where you can go up and make all those other members that don't ever give you the time of day anyway, because they're the chairman. Oh, I'm a chairman of a committee. I must do what the speaker says. I must do what the pro tem says. This is the time where you can go and make them vote over and over and over for things that they cannot explain to their people back home.
Oh, man. Now you're talking solutions.
Oh, now, hey, look.
What if some of these people who are, like you mentioned, younger, new, who are shut out and really not given a voice in the process?
Right.
What if they formed, I hate this word, a coalition?
Oh, they could.
To band together and wield some power in numbers.
Yeah.
Is there any hope for that?
I don't know if there's enough warrior spirits, but I'm telling you, and that is what happened when the Republicans took over, and we elected too many Republicans, and we ended up with a bunch of new people that had no idea what the rules were. They had never fought. They had never had their nose bloodied. They'd never been treated bad.
They didn't know how it worked.
It was very easy for them to come in and be told, hey, just do what the leadership says. And they were
Sounds
like,
legitimate.
"Oh, I can't do that, Scott. My leadership said this." I'm like, "What? You're a senator. You are a senator." I know, but the leadership said, and that has been so watered down that I don't know if the younger guys even know. They may be just averse. Like, Scott, you don't want to make Republicans take bad votes. Yes, I do. I want them to go home and tell their people how we don't need more Republican congressmen in Washington, D.C., because we want to empower, Cory Booker. We want to empower, whoever the next Democrat leader is in the House, because we just don't have the nerve or the courage to do it. I want them to tell people back home how we don't have the courage to have more Republican seats. We got to take another break. We'll be right back. Welcome back in, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. Thank you for listening. The number here, 1-800-289-9228, 1-800-289-9228. Let's go out to Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy, welcome to the program. Thank you for listening. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you for taking my call, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a question. You know, Colin Allen, the attempted assassinator.
Yes.
First, his attorney requested no bail because he had a clean record. Okay. Second thing is, okay, this magistrate judge is a hardcore liberal Democrat. He's even a registered Democrat. Okay. So he apologized, 3 times in court? When is the federal judge, a magistrate judge or a judge, period, apologizing for, he was concerned and intrigued, key words, 2 words. He said, quote unquote, I'm intrigued and discouraged by the conditions in which he's being held in. Are you kidding me?
I know. It's unbelievable. And then he had to bring up January 6th.
Yeah, the judge really wanted to award the would-be assassin another free shot at Trump, but she thought that'd be overstepping.
He probably wanted to hit him a gun or help him tackle one of the Secret Service guys so he could get through.
I think she would if if he could.
Hey, did you see his name?
Yes. Yes, that's what led me to believe it was a
female. You didn't hear us yesterday, did you?
Yeah, I thought it was a female judge.
Yeah, he thought it was a girl judge. It's like, what was his name? Fia?
Zaya. That's
Zia.
Zia
Faruqi.
Right.
Faruqi. And with the title, First Muslim Judge in D.C. Court System. I tell you, they got to be the first of everything. You can't be the second. Maybe I can be the first German. I'm getting cheated already. I don't get. When is European month?
I think we missed it. Yeah.
No, there won't even be, Soldier Boy, there will not even be a European History Month when there is no European left on the planet.
Wait a minute, we got Indigenous Month, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We got African American Month. We got Asian Pacific Month.
Mm-hmm.
What other months do we have?
We have Hispanic Heritage Month.
That month?
Mm-hmm.
Europeans did something for acknowledgement.
Well, messed up the world, because before the Europeans came along and colonized the whole world, the world was it was a pristine utopia, really, and everyone loved everyone. There were no conquests, there was no murdering, there was no. Women were free, people were free. There were no caste systems. It was really a wonderful place. And then the Europeans came around spreading their Christianity, and it was awful. And so now it's time to get rid of all the white Europeans, especially the Christians.
Suggest that roughly 10 to 14% of the world population is white, Caucasian, or of European descent. So if you only got 10 or 12% of the whole, what do you think you're not going to get a day?
Yeah.
Come on.
I think that's actually too high.
What amazes me is the word. I hate the word minority. Can we look that word up in a dictionary?
Yeah. We can.
Because
you want it to happen?
They were talking about the redistricting, including Montgomery and everything. And last time I looked in there, 68 or 69% of the population of Montgomery is African American.
Mm-hmm.
Minority.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, I'm just going to tell you.
I'm a minority.
I brought that up to leadership in Birmingham one time.
How'd that go over?
Well, they were always amused by me, so we got along. They knew I was just making a point. They were my friends, but I was like, "Hey, can I get one of them minority contracts?" And they're like, "What the crap you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, I'm the minority down here." And they're like, "Shut up, Scott."
80% of the population.
Sit down.
If you're a population person and you live in Selma, the population is African American, 80%. My God, what is a minority? And you can't keep using that crutch as minority rights. I'm a minority. It's like I'm a minority.
Right. Well,
one time I went into a store, Lowe's, I'll say it, Lowe's, and this lady was made some racial comments towards me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she being a woman of color, she looked at me and she says, "I can't be a racist. You are." I'm like, what?
Yeah.
The word racist is only delegated for certain groups. It's
right.
like,
Well, that's why there's this caveat that was kind of dreamed up a few years back that says minority populations in the country cannot be racist because you can only be racist if you're prejudiced and you have power. So if you're just plain old prejudiced without institutional power, you can't be racist. So they came up with these new little definitions so that regular people, whether they be white, black, Hispanic, green, orange, Asian, whatever, can't really follow the conversation because they changed the definitions of words, but they literally believe, and they were taught this at the universities,
Right.
that if you are prejudiced with no power, you can't be racist. But if you're prejudiced with power,
Right.
then you're a racist. And people are like, wait a minute, I thought just racist was racist. Well, you did.
No.
But,
exactly.
but we, so that's
gymnastics
the
involved.
difference.
I just don't understand it, and they're making a big bragging deal, docious deal, that this guy's the first Muslim judge in Washington D.C.
He's doing a
Sounds like-
great job too.
Oh, I apologize. What is he? He wants to give them organic, healthy food? Let me tell you something. I had a girl that was in the city jail in Montgomery, okay? And she was a waitress at this restaurant. I won't mention it. And I didn't recognize her. And she said, "Soldier Boy, don't you recognize me?" I'm like, "Is it such and such?" She goes, "Yeah, it's me." I was like, "My God, you look good." She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "You must have lost 50, 60 pounds. And she said, "I did." And I asked her, I was like, 56 pounds? I said, "What happened?" She says, "Well, I had a little mini vacation in the city jail because I had too many unpaid tickets, and I had to go to jail for 30 days. And all they fed me was this piece of open sliced bread with some curled up bologna on." And she says, "I wasn't going to eat that crap." She says, "That's called the jail diet." And she said, she says, "I've never looked this good." I was like, "My God, I mean, how do you she turned a negative into a positive of self-awareness. She said, "I look good, don't I?" I was like, "You sure do."
Hey, look, you got to make of it what you can.
It took jail.
The jail
Well,
fasting
jail
diet.
To make her lose but she lost 50, 60 pounds, became healthier because of something negative. And she had never gone to jail, she'd still be obese.
I knew jail was good for people.
See there? You
God.
got to apply yourself. That's all.
She was telling,
Got to have goals.
and this,
Yeah.
and wait a minute,
Motivation.
she's getting an open slice of bread and curled up bologna sandwich. Okay, not even two
Right.
slices of bread for a sandwich. Open slice with and she says, "And this judge is worried about giving this guy organic food."
It's so bad, man. This judge is protecting a fellow traveler.
Yeah,
That's
he's-
all.
this-
That's
the
all he's
assassin-
doing.
The assassin is a hero to that judge. He's a very brave man. That's just the way it is.
Sounds like it.
So
No doubt.
So it doesn't matter. So Scott, it doesn't matter how serious the crime is. Okay, if you got a clean record, you should get bail.
They're not. They didn't do that for the January Sixers.
No.
Hey, we got to take a break though.
Oh, my
Soldier Boy,
God.
I appreciate it, bud. We'll be right back. Hold on, Sky. Hold on. Got to mash the button. There we go.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back into the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. We appreciate you listening to the show. I'm Scott Beason, and I've got a special guest in for at least this one segment. Brian Dawson from 1819 News is visiting with me today. If you check out the place over on YouTube where we're broadcasting, search for Scott Beason, you can see Brian Dawson himself. Let me zoom in on you a little bit, Brian. Hold on, I can do that here so people can see you. Yeah, I'm trying to find your good side, but
I don't have
that many cameras.
I've got 4 bad sides.
So what's going on, man? How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I, just excited about some of the successes that we've had recently. Getting the Magic City Acceptance School, they are trying to, expand their ability to groom, and we shut it down. And it's a whole story. I'll have to come back and tell you about that. But it's just been exciting to watch. We've had the Center for Education that we've launched, which is dedicated investigative journalism, where we've got April Marie Fogel, Craig Monger, 2 junior reporters, and a full-time research assistant. All we're doing is digging into the Education Trust Fund, the Alabama Education Association, the poor performance in the public schools, the perverts in the public schools, and then the universities and all the woke bullcrap they're pulling. And so that's all they're doing. And it's just 4 or 5 stories. It seems like a day.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
When I served in the legislature, I was on the education committee.
Yeah.
In the House, and I had the opportunity to go to some of these conferences and stuff, and you're just like, oh my gosh, no wonder it's so messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just indoctrination from day one. Every liberal idea, things you hear, somebody will do a presentation, you're like, that's never going to work.
Yeah.
Why would you think that would work? Oh yeah, the clapping seals, or this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And it seems like Alabama, we wait and do things after other states have done it and realized it doesn't work. Then we adopt it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So that's one of the new things y'all got going, a real focus on education, and that'll be good.
Yeah. We've already seen tremendous fruit from it. So
Are people have a hard time, and I think, tell me if you've gotten this, because my time in the radio and the legislature, it's hard for people to believe some of the things that actually truthfully go on in our state, in our country. And when you go give a speech, or somebody writes an article that you can find at 1819 News, people will read it and go, that can't be true.
Yeah.
And not even think about it anymore. So how do you get people to begin to say, okay, wait a minute, I need to, is that true? Yeah. Instead of just shutting it totally down.
So it's because it's not a one-off. We continue to write story after story after story, and then you're talking about it on the radio, and then I'm podcasting on it, and then it's in the magazine, and so it's not they just read this article and they're like, oh, that can't be true, right? It becomes to the point where it's undeniable, and they're just overwhelmed with evidence of it. But what the problem is, the reason that they block it out is because the implications of this being true about our public education system would mean that I have a responsibility to do something, talking about the hearts, minds, and souls of future generations of Alabamians and the people who are going to be leading our state, and we're allowing this to happen to them. That's suicide as a society, civilizational suicide. And so it's incumbent upon us to do something, and you don't want to do anything, and so you just pretend it's not happening.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I did run into when I would go. You do the whole speak at the Chamber of Commerce and go to the next town and speak at their Rotary Club and then at the Republican Club. And what I found when it came to education was, even the people who would believe what you're telling them, they would say, well, I know that happens in Birmingham.
Yeah,
I know that happens in Montgomery. Not my school.
Yeah.
It's always not my school. And you would have to, and hopefully that's one of the things y'all are focusing on is, oh, no, it's at the good schools.
I call them the good schools.
The good schools are probably better at bending kids' minds than the bad schools.
Yeah.
Have you seen the one that reminded me of me and you? There's a guy saying, it's a good thing I have ADHD. All that brainwashing didn't stick.
Didn't work. Yeah, that's me and you.
So you mentioned the podcast.
Yeah.
And we say something about your podcast every day, but what's going on over there? And in shorts, I want to know about shorts, because one of my theories is a lot more women probably watch social media than their husbands.
Yeah.
And I think what you're doing with the shorts or the reels or whatever, the little clips,
short form, fully produced video content,
will cause somebody to go, hey, honey, you think this is true?
Yeah.
And that's the first chink in the armor.
No, and it's
That's
crazy the success we're having with those. We're getting millions and millions. We had 30 million views just on our short form video content on Facebook alone. That's not YouTube. That's not Instagram. That's not TikTok. Okay, that's just on Facebook.
Wow.
30 million views in the last 3 months. Okay. Stuff I did with Tuberville, 5-6 million views, and other random ones will just get 6 or 7 million views.
Right.
It's insane, and you're exactly right. And someone told me the reason that I'm so good at it is that I have RBF for a man. Resting face, as a man, and so I just look disgruntled.
I mean, I see you smile
and then
sometimes.
and you do the React videos, and like my face is just perfect for the React videos or whatever. But
I mean, you have a little bit of a Lord of the Rings look.
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm saying?
And that's what it takes to fix things. And so
well, you do. I mean, yes, absolutely.
I'm here to wreck shop. So this week on the podcast, I've been holding off and not wanting to do this podcast. For a couple years now, it's become an extremely hot topic, but I'm like, you know what? It doesn't affect. It's extremely controversial, and I don't avoid controversy, but there's some controversies that just aren't worth wading into.
Right.
And
you don't have to kick over every ant bed.
Correct. And it's like, you know what? We're just focused on our state. Our state legislature, our city councils, our county commissions, our schools, etc. I don't need to get into Israel. Okay. To do my job here. Well, what's essentially happened. I've left this alone. I've got the unpopular opinion about replacement theology, quote unquote. And so all of a sudden, like I was happy to just live and let live on this one. I have my opinion. You have yours. That's cool.
Right.
We can still work together to save the state. That's fine.
Right.
But now all of a sudden, these massive influencers in Alabama, people who are, and I'm talking about Bruce Pearl. Okay? Just throw that out there. And others, but it's not just him. All these people. They're going out and they're using their massive platforms to say that, replacement theology is wicked. It needs to be combated. It's dangerous. All this other stuff, and they don't even know what they're saying when they're saying replacement theology. And what is replacement theology, right? And so the point, what he would be saying is, there's the historic Christian position in the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, and the Protestant Church for 2,000 years. What was taught.
1 minute.
Okay, got 1 minute. What was taught is essentially that the true Israel of God is the church. And so the Jews were cut out of the olive tree in Romans 11, and the Gentiles were engrafted in through faith in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Right.
And so those who have faith in Jesus Christ, Jew and Gentile, are the church, and the church is the Israel of God.
They're the descendants of Abraham.
That is what has been taught for 2,000 years. Will a new dispensational way of interpreting that comes in, and it still has Israel as God's chosen people and the apple of God's eye and all this other stuff. And the people who believe that, hey, that's fine. If that's what you believe, great.
Right.
But don't come and say that what I believe is dangerous and wicked and needs to be combated.
Right.
And put this, like, kind of paint me
This
as
is all on your podcast.
Yeah. Oh, and I have Pastor Rich Luss come on and break down the entire thing.
Oh, my gosh. I wish we had more time. I got a guest, and you got to go, but...
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get you on next week.
Okay.
All right. Good deal. Brian, I appreciate it. Let's take a break. Scott, hold on. I got to make sure I turn off the music button. All right. We'll be right back.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome into the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. We appreciate you listening to the show. Scott, I don't know what I did here. Oh, I know. Got it figured out now. I had the Brian Dawson camera up. Now I've got the new one back up. All is good. When he was here, I said, hey, just listen, which was my hand turning the camera so we could have Brian on there. Fascinating discussion with him, and he was talking about the Center for Education and Cultural Reform. They've got a really cool name for, Center for Cultural Renewal. And we've got one of the writers on as a guest. His name is Walker Larson. He taught literature and history at a private academy. His writing has appeared in over a dozen outlets, including the Hemingway Review, the Epic Times, and his own Substack, the Hazelnut. He is also the author of 2 novels, Hologram and Song of Spheres. So, Walker, welcome to the program. We hope you are well, and we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to spend with us on the radio.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, absolutely, and we want to have you on. I'm jumping to the conclusion it will go well, but you have a host of articles that people can find easily over at 1819 News, and what I love about it is some of the things you talked about, and I told you I wanted to ask you about the one-room schoolhouse. The title of the article over there, and it was published back on April the 28th, An Old School Education Model Reinvented for the 21st Century, where you're talking about the old one-room schoolhouse that our grandparents might have had. My dad tells me growing up in Welty, Alabama, about 2 or 3 grades being in the same room, and it was just a different environment than what we have in the more industrialized, one-size-fits-all giant schools. And I wanted you to expand on that a little bit, because people in other places are kind of moving, trying to move to these almost a neighborhood school with small numbers of people. And I think folks in Alabama are like, wait a minute, what? Well, you can't do that. You gotta send your kids down to the giant megalith academy over here. So tell me a little bit about what your thoughts, what you've been seeing, and what's going on in this article.
Yeah. So it is a growing movement in American education towards these kind of reinventions of the one-room schoolhouse. And the term that's often used now is a micro school or a learning pod. But those kind of strange terms, but it really refers to something that is quite similar to the old-fashioned one-room schoolhouse. And as you pointed out, it's a model that's a lot more flexible, that gives parents more control. It's a smaller teacher-to-student ratio, and so it allows for, as I said, flexibility and personalization to kind of fit the needs of those individual students, instead of, as you described, these kind of megalithic, huge public schools and academies that we have, where it's one size fits all. And so that's part of what's drawing people to this new model. Estimates say, from RAND, for example, they estimate about 95,000 of these micro schools or learning pods popping up around the country. Ed Choice reports that 10 to 14% of parents enroll a child in a micro school. So it's growing. It's not a negligible kind of sideshow, but it really is becoming a significant minority.
What kind of fascinates me about this idea, and you got to give people examples. So I hate to do this as my example, but I'm going with like Little House on the Prairie, and back in the day there was really no problem with having a school. And I get that maybe it didn't go all the way to 12th grade or whatever, but there were schools that had first graders. There wasn't a kindergarten. They had first graders, they had third graders, they had sixth graders. They had a whole range of students, but it was a small environment, and everybody was kind of getting their individual instruction at their appropriate level, and it worked, and it was successful, and people, I would argue, were getting a better education. But I think now we've been in the megalith industrial school complex model for so long that parents, if they were even trying to dream up being involved in one of these micro schools, are like, well, I don't know. How's that going to work? And when we only have 2 second graders and 3 fourth graders and a 6th grader in our neighborhood, what would they teach? So is part of the hang up in your mind that we're just so indoctrinated into school has to be this way that we kind of have an aversion to, hey, let's go out and try something different?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's what most people are familiar with. It's what most people today themselves grew up with, was kind of this one standardized model.
Mm-hmm.
You had people on the fringes, like people doing homeschooling, and in fact, micro schools are sometimes described as kind of a blend of homeschooling and more traditional forms of schooling.
Right.
But yeah, the majority of people are just so used to one kind of model that it is hard to get out of that mold and think outside the box a little bit. But I think one thing we ought to be able to have an honest conversation about is that this current model hasn't done the greatest job. I mean, we kind of need to think outside of the box, I think, because when you look at some of the statistics, it's rather dreary, So this is from a few years ago, but I don't think it's changed vastly since then. The Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, said of the 2019 National Report Card, quote, "Every American family needs to open the nation's report card this year and think about what it means for their child and for our country's future. The results are frankly devastating. This country is in a student achievement crisis, and over the past decade, it has continued to worsen, especially for our most vulnerable students." Goes on from there, and I could cite other things, but I don't want to go on and on. The results of the big industrial public school system have not been great, and that might be part of why more parents are becoming comfortable with thinking about alternatives, and why this movement is growing.
Yeah, and the idea, unfortunately, trying to do these smaller plans or smaller schools is expensive, and that's one of the things. That's why we need more and more school choice, more educational choice, and I'm always fascinated with Republicans in the state of Alabama because they are quick to provide choice for populations that don't vote for them. For populations who voted not to have any school choice. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? And part of it is because Brian Dawson was on the show before, the segment before you got on. We have a lot of this belief that, well, these other schools and other places aren't doing very well. But my school, where I'm friends with the principal and I'm friends with the teachers, my school's got to be doing fine. We're probably fantastic. And that's why people are shocked when they get their report card, which is also slanted towards higher grades, by the way. That I know that's a secret for folks.
Sure.
But then they're like, well, wait a minute. I thought my school was great. So we've got a lot of work to do on that to get there. I was going to tell you, it's funny, the different opportunities and plans, Walker. A few years ago, there was a school in North Alabama that was doing a lot of virtual school stuff, and my son and my daughter did virtual school through that. So they provided the curriculum. Yeah. If you had a part of the curriculum you didn't agree with, you could easily work around it. And then they also provided the computers for I think we got an Apple laptop for $50 a year. That's how good this deal was. And we were on the verge of having 10 or 11 little boys that were 6th or 7th grade, and we had a guy who was a pastor who had a degree in mathematics, and he was going to be the proctor, and we affectionately named this little school we thought we were going to do Fortnite Academy because all the little boys were playing Fortnite all the time, so it was going to be Fortnite Academy. Yep. And it was so much like what you kind of describe. Now, it fell through. It didn't work, and only my family ended up doing it. But I would argue that the education he got by having my wife help, even though it was virtually done and in the whole 9 yards, was better than what the kids got in the institutional school that year. Walker, I appreciate you. Please hold on. We got another segment. We got to take a break. But Walker Larson is with me, one of the opinion writers over at 1819 News. Fascinating conversation about smaller schools. You don't want to miss it. We will be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politician.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Scott Beason. We appreciate you listening to the show. Walker Larson is with me. As I pointed out earlier, Walker is one of the opinion piece folks over at 1819, and he writes for other publications as well. Part of that Center for Cultural Renewal and focusing on that in education is one of the things that 1819 is branching out into. But cultural renewal actually requires some changes to be made in the education system so that we actually are educating people. And he's got a really good piece. You can find it at 1819 News titled An Old School Education Model Reinvented for the 21st Century. And Walker, I appreciate you being on. And you're pointing out in the article that you said one of your sentences, of course, the fact that micro schools are based on an older model doesn't mean they're unable to adopt to new methods or technologies, because a lot of people say, well, yeah, if you just want to have the old school, and that's not what you're saying.
Right. There's a wide range of approaches in micro schools, and everything from kind of more experimental to more classical methods of education. And that's part of the beauty of it is adaptable. It's a model that's flexible depending on the needs and desires of the parents and the community that it serves. But certainly, because of that flexibility, it can adapt to the changing landscape, whether that's technology or what have you. In some ways, better than these larger, more bureaucratic systems that are, a bit more monolithic and not able to move as quickly. But a micro school can, try an experiment, can integrate a new educational technology if that's the route that the parents want to go. And it can do that fairly quickly and easily. So there's an element, I think, of efficiency to these smaller scale operations where oftentimes micro schools are trying to strip away some of that, dead weight, some of that administrative kind of excess and all the bureaucracy that can go into a really large school. They're able to trim some of that away, which I think can potentially both drive down costs and allow for this greater flexibility that we're talking about.
Yeah, that makes a good point. So let me ask you this: when you start writing on things like this, and I don't know how long you've written about education, usually people come out of the woodwork to say, well, what do you know? Were you an educator? Do you have an education degree? Do you have this? Do you have that? And oftentimes my response is, look, I don't have to have an education degree to look at the results of what we're getting when it comes to education to say we need to make some changes. Are you getting pushback when you're writing these opinion pieces? People come back and say, no, we need to do it the big way we've been doing it for 50, 60, 70, maybe longer years, and just keep riding this Titanic into the abyss. What kind of things are people saying to you?
Yeah, I have not gotten a lot of negative feedback on this, particular train of thought. It seems to me that the audiences I write for tend to be pretty receptive to these kinds of ideas. They're often people that are already looking for alternatives.
Right.
I've been writing about education for a while, and I do have a background in education. I taught at a classical school for 4 years. I taught literature and history. So, I have a little bit of experience in that world. And then my own education was a little bit different as well, because I was homeschooled until my junior year of high school. So, and then I went to a public university. So I've kind of seen a number of different educational environments and models, and which has been helpful to try to look at, okay, what's working and what isn't. What aspects of my own experience would I replicate, and what would I maybe try to adjust. So, but no, honestly, I've had positive feedback on this kind of thing so far, which is good to hear.
Yeah, I think that what people need to hear next is from folks like you is, hey, look, how do we move towards this? I mean, I think a lot of times it's going to require parents actually saying, okay, you know what, we can do this. Let's just start down the road and find out what it takes, and let's make something like this happen. And when you start looking at the finances and how much money is spent in the public school system as it is today, it wouldn't take a huge percentage of that to be able to go out to choice, to be able to do some different things. And I just feel like, and you tell me if you feel the same way, people just need to just start trying it. And then when they hit a roadblock, they figure out a workaround, and they tell other people what they've done and what worked, what has, and just get a community going. Because I would love nothing better. I don't even have any of my kids are married yet, but I would love for my grandchildren to be able to have an opportunity to go to the Little House on the Prairie school. I used to say when I was in the legislature, and people get mad, look, hey, I'm fine with a one room schoolhouse with a wood burning stove, and I'll bring my 3 pieces of wood every day. but it's really about the kids, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right that people, it certainly can be a daunting idea to consider, like, trying to start something like this. But find your community, as you said. Start talking to people, find like-minded families, and it's amazing what a group of like-minded people can accomplish. And part of what's, I think, great about this model is that it is decentralized and it's local. It's really grassroots, like communities coming together and saying, all right, let's help each other educate our children. And you pool your resources, you pool your talents, and I think that's a preferable model as opposed to a mass-produced educational product that's being imposed from elsewhere, that may or may not align with your local values and your local interests.
Right. No,
so
I agree.
As far as people kind of getting started, I would say, first of all, there are a lot of good resources online because this is a growing movement. There are even organizations out there, such as, I think there's one called Prenda, I want to say, Prenda,
okay,
that kind of creates a template for people to follow in starting a micro school. So they'll sort of give you the kit, if you will, and then you have a structure in place you can start to implement and adapt. But it's really, I think, helpful if people just don't have any idea where to start. It's good to know there are groups out there, companies that are putting together kind of a starter kit for you. So that's where I would kind of go and just start talking to like-minded people, see what you can figure out.
Yeah, Prenda, PRENDA.com. Micro Schools Made Easy, PRENDA.com. Walker Larson has been our guest. Walker, I appreciate you being on, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future about some other things. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, fantastic. Thank you. The what was I going to say, Sky? I had something else. Oh, here it is. And Walker would have liked this. G.K. Chesterton once said, "If a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing badly."
I'm a little confused. So,
Which,
can you
well,
explain that?
It says if it's worth doing, even if you can't do it perfectly, get going.
Do something.
You'll get better at it. Get going.
Don't be afraid.
That's what we're afraid of a lot of times. It's got to be perfect. I got to have every single thing. No, if it's worth doing, that's why we're doing the videos for people.
Circumstances will never be
That's
perfect.
why we're doing YouTube, because it's worth doing badly.
That's our motto.
That's our motto here. We'll be back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politician.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back into the program, everybody. Alabama Unfiltered Radio. Good conversation right before the break. I'm always fascinated with the people who like to write. Now, I wrote almost all my press releases and all that kind of stuff, and when I was in the legislature, but I don't love it. And I told y'all before the famous. I used to get sideways with the teachers union all the time. They were mad at me.
No,
the only thing that
stop.
ever helped me was when the federal government changed the laws and they had to put out the retirement system's unfunded liabilities, the things that one day are coming due. Because I would always be like, "Hey, look, we gotta slow this down. These raises and stuff, that's going to destroy the retirement system. Because every time you get a raise, your retirement goes up."
Right, that pension's going to come
And they're
home
like, "Oh
one day.
no, it's great. Retirement is awesome." And then they came out and did the unfunded liabilities, and it was like $13 billion or something. And a few people said, "Well, golly, you were one of the only people that was telling us the truth." I'm like, you think I enjoyed getting bashed all the time and being the most hated person? But one of these meetings had gotten kind of heated, and I had written an opinion piece, and it was printed in the local papers. And a teacher got up to tell me how poorly it was done because I had misused some commas.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Grammatically incorrect.
Yes.
And punctuation is flawed.
And I said, which in retrospect was not good, I said, now I'm standing in the front, right? I'm taking my abuse. I said, well, what do you expect? I was publicly educated.
Oh, zing.
Oh, it was awful. Because I love my teachers. Most of my teachers, I had some really good teachers growing up. And
they'd understand.
And I said that. And it was one of those things that came out, and I couldn't reel it back in. And part of me was like, heck yeah, say that. And the other part was like, that's not going to make the situation better. And then later in that same conversation, another guy gets up. He's screaming at me about, because I was like, hey, if they work out this, work out that, I might can do this. I can work. This is what I'm thinking, trying to explain it. And finally, this guy's yelling at me how I just ought to vote no. Because he's mad. He's trying to push me into, no, I'll vote yes, I'll vote yes. And I said, fine, I'll do what you tell me. I'm a no, period. It does not matter what you say. I'm a no. That did not endear me either.
Didn't fly either?
No, but I guess they thought, or that guy thought, look, I'm going to bully Scott into voting for this. And all it did was make me bow up.
Well, he probably works a lot of the times. That's
it probably had worked in the past.
Operandus.
It was funny. One of my good friends, I won't name him, but he was in the legislature too. And he would get these Christmas cards from the same group and all this stuff. And I would say, dude, you vote exactly like me. Why do they love you and hate my guts? He's like, because they don't pay attention to how I vote. They're too busy hating you. And I'm like,
that really works. And you know what I'm talking about.
It does work.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes the bad example can make you look good.
Well, yeah. Like, well, we love him. He's not near as bad as Scott. We hate Scott's guts. Oh, let's go to Papa B. Papa B never has this problem. Papa B, welcome to the program.
Everybody likes Papa
Everybody loves Papa B.
Well, as a real estate appraiser, you're a hero one day and a goat the next.
Yeah.
So, it's an either-or situation. But, so you're the cannon fodder. You're the diversion. They let you draw the fire while they can go about their merry way.
Yes.
What you're trying to tell me?
That happens. Yes. Hey, look, but that's not as annoying because this guy was my buddy. That's not as annoying as the person that lets you draw the fire, and then if you win, goes out to every group and makes it sound like he was the guy who did it. And
he
you're like,
did it.
Wait.
Right, yeah.
They're right there to lead the parade, I promise.
Heck yeah, man. So anyway, I apologize for this, but I didn't have a chance to write it down as I was, walking out this morning. But there was an article that came out about the DOJ having to retract a statement about the SPLC. Okay, so that was the big headline.
Okay.
And if you just read the headline, it's like, oh, well, I guess they're just not going to have to, they're not charging the SPLC.
Right.
But all you have to do is read like 2 lines down in it, And that's not what happened at all. So the headline was, it was misinformation.
Right.
They were trying to, cast shade on the DOJ and, state how great the SPLC is and that they were right to begin with and the DOJ's wrong. That's what the headline said.
Uh-huh.
So, this is what we get, though. This is what we get from the press. Most people, they just look at the headline like, oh, crap. But just look at it a little bit. Read down into the articles when you see these things, and you'll understand just how bad they lie to you.
Oh, this is terrible, Papa B. Hold on. Let me making me stutter. It's so bad. All right, I'm looking at Yahoo News, all right? And there's multiple stories, the exact same thing. Story about Edith Olmstead. Right. Listen to this guy. Papa B has brought a good one. DOJ walks back one of Todd Blanche's, that's the interim AG, Blanche's main accusations against the SPLC. Right. Oh, no. Blanche must have told a fib, but he's got to walk it back. Let me give you some more. Yeah. Let me give you a couple other ones. See, DOJ retracts Blanche's false SPLC claim after court filing.
Yes.
Clarifies remarks on Southern Poverty Law Center. You're right. They have lied about the SPLC. Now, here's the lie, Sky.
Here it comes.
Speaking to Fox News on April 21st, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche claimed that the government had no information to suggest the SPLC had shared what they learned from their undercover informant program and hate groups such as KKK with law enforcement. The SPLC hit back at Blanche's claim with a motion to retract his false statement and refrain from making any like it. It's true that over the years they have selectively shared with law enforcement. That's well documented, and there's no dispute. They aren't charged with any of that content. So the clarification was him saying, hey, I don't know that they have been sharing any of this, and then they have to come back and say, oh, no, they might have shared something. Is that roughly it, Papa
man.
B?
Lord, yeah. I mean, DOJ, what a nasty bunch of folks, and the SPLC, completely righteous. Y'all shut up.
But they certainly caught him in the huge
scandal. You got to retract all that. That's just bad. And listen to this part of the article.
Can't hate him enough.
This is just the latest bit of graceless leadership from Blanche, who actively undermined the Justice Department's flimsy case against FBI Director James Comey on Sunday. And
flimsy,
as part of
you say?
Larger trend of unprecedented prosecutorial missteps.
Yeah.
What a bunch.
This is
no shame.
Yeah.
No shame whatsoever.
Well, and so this is what we're served up with on a regular, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They have an agenda, they have a narrative, and they want to push that agenda and narrative. They're not interested in what actually is going on. They're not, worried about the actual facts, just the facts, ma'am. No.
Right.
They want to twist words. They misinformation, disinformation, outright lies, and fomenting, complete hatred. And it's almost like the CIA is running these news outlets. Oh, wait a minute. They are running these.
Oh, now you're meddling, Papa B. Now you're meddling. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politicians.
To Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back into the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. Thanks for listening. We'll get right out to the calls, but I want to finish this up that Papa B started. I did find a story written by an Alabama entity, Alabama Reflector. I'm not real familiar with them. Ralph Chapaco, Chapoco, wrote it, published back on April the 28th. They're asking for grand jury transcripts and all this kind of stuff. And I would advise anybody out there to watch the SPLC defend itself and watch and see all the things they ask for and demand and expect, and then think about whether or not, if they had decided to come after you for whatever reason they might disagree with you and got the feds to do it with them or for them, we'll say with them because that's kind of how they're defending themselves, if you would get all these rights. If you would be able to make all the demands for all the things and be able to say, "Hey, you were on Scott's show and you said something. I don't think you got it. You're messing up the whole jury." Just think whether or not you would get the same kind of treatment. So they're going to expect to be special, but so the whole thing on this was the assistant AG saying, "Hey, look, I don't even know that they ever actually turned anything in to." To anybody. And they have a couple of different defenses. Now, I'm just reading. This is cursory, so this is alleged. If somebody disagrees down there, I know people are listening down there in the river region. But the argument seems to be, hey, we've been doing this. It came on the heels of racism and Klan rallies and all this kind of stuff. We've been doing it for a long, long, long time, but we discontinued it. It says the program, SPLC paid informants within extremist groups like the Ku Klux Klan to gather information about potentially violent activities by the organizations. This program, which dates to at least the 1980s, has been discontinued, according to the SPLC. And then it says, well, hey, the Attorney General was wrong because we did tell them. There was a case back in 2018.
When?
2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2018. Because you would think if you're doing this, because this would be my question. If you're doing this all the time, and you got all these informants and these terribly racist, violent organizations, shouldn't you be handing over a steady stream of, hey, the bad stuff's about to happen, this is what they're up to? But it looks like there might be, a couple.
Well, I know how the SPLC is very good at accounting and making money.
Uh-huh.
And I know they've spent a lot of money on that informant program, alleged. Informant. Yeah, you think they get better results because they're very efficient with their fundraising.
See, what does this say? During a meeting with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the motion said the SPLC provided information about the program that included specific information gathered from informants and provided to law enforcement to prevent, quote, when we began working with informants, we were living in the shadow of the height of the civil rights movement, which had seen bombings at churches, state-sponsored violence against demonstrators, and the murders of activists that went unanswered by the justice system. That's what Fair said in a news release on Tuesday. When threats and other unlawful activity were revealed, the SPLC immediately passed that information to law enforcement officials, local, state, and federal, and assisted in efforts to prevent violence and stop criminal activity. Mm-hmm. So, hey, look.
That was then, this is now.
I just, look, this is my personal opinion in having to deal with them ever in the past. Not the straightest shooters. And just, they're just led completely by their ideology, and nothing comes before the ideology. And I don't know how any of this is going to work. So, there's no need in cease and desist. Like I said, my opinions, allegedly, cursory review of an article that is defensive of y'all. So, look, we'll figure out as time flies, and you're welcome to come on here anytime and tell us exactly what all's been going on. But my guess is y'all will do the old, well, I can't be out there telling because we're involved in litigation. But you could tell us what y'all were doing and how it was working.
Sure.
I mean, because you're saving people. You're on the heels of the civil rights movement, for goodness sakes, which happened longer ago than I've been alive. Does anybody remember that? I'm 56.
Yeah, vaguely.
I mean, it never ends. John from Wetumpka, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, John.
I just wanted to weigh in on the guest that you had earlier.
Yeah.
With regard to the micro schools.
Yeah.
Been in education. I've said this before since 1987. Public school teacher, and I am one of those that embraces different ways of doing things. I think larger schools, to a great degree, are less effective than smaller schools. I think that, I'm not against homeschooling. I'm one of those public school teachers that embraces that.
Goodness, you're a heretic.
Yeah, I don't care. What are they going to do, fire me? Not at this point. And I'm teaching now, but, it's one of those things. I think that the unique ways that we go about, different strategies that we use, like the gentleman was talking about earlier, as long as they're effective, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I believe in hands-on education. I'm in career tech education, teaching agriculture, so I believe in putting things to practice, and because of that, I think kids learn more like that than they do any other way. I think putting a practice into action where they have to do it themselves and figure it out and go through the problems and the sequence and the thought process and that kind of thing.
Right.
I think that makes a huge difference in it, and if it can be more effective that way, I'm all for it. There's a colossal waste of time in public school. During a student's day, there are so many things that we're not very efficient in what we do. And that's why homeschool kids can do the same thing that takes public education 7.5 hours.
Right.
They can do it 3 or 4.
Yeah. No, I agree with you completely. Man, you don't know, John from Wetumpka, how much I wish you were. If I have grandkids ever, I wish you were going to be there to help teach them agriculture. That would be awesome.
I would love to do that. I really would.
Well, when I get rich, you can come run the micro school for my grandkids. Hey, we got to go, buddy. I appreciate it. I'll talk to y'all.
Take care.
Talk to y'all in a few days. Ann Eubank will be in tomorrow. Y'all be safe. Be good. See y'all.